I keep telling myself I'm not going to keep subjecting myself to these mummers, farces of debates and whatnot, but I guess it's kind of my responsibility to be able to explain to you guys what's going on. So fuck it. I watched it last night. Well, actually, I was going back and forth between watching Vikings because it's always fun to watch white people slash each other to pieces, and this debate because it's funny to watch brown Mussolini and orange Hitler slice each other to pieces. So fuck it, why not? But yeah, as of last night, I voted for Jill Stein. Why am I voting for Jill Stein? Because this stuff is fucking ridiculous. Okay, no, I am not under the delusion that Jill Stein is actually going to win or anything. But excuse me, no, I don't have COVID. I think I have a cold. Anyways, why am I voting for Jill Stein? Like, why is BRG making Jill Stein the first white person that he has voted for president ever? Because she has good shit on her platform. Like, this is stuff that every leftist should be able to get behind. In the absence of guerrillas in the hills, in the absence of a protracted people's war going on right now, this is probably the best that we can do. So, what will a Jill Stein administration do? Guarantee lifelong free public education for all institutions of learning, including trade schools and pre-kindergarten through college and grad school. Abolish all student debt for 43 million encumbered Americans. Increase and equalize public school funding. End the privatization of public schools. Guarantee free childcare. Reduce taxes on incomes below the real median income of $75,000 per household. Strengthen Social Security, remove the artificial cap on the Social Security tax for the wealthy, and apply the Social Security payroll tax to all income, including capital gains and dividends. Remove loopholes that allow foundations to hide wealth from taxation. Institute increasingly progressive taxation for incomes and wealth and increase the estate tax. Free high-speed internet across the U.S. with rural broadband via fiber optics. Put too big to fail banks into public ownership as public utilities. Currently, the four largest banks, which own 25% of all banking assets, create nonprofit public, state, and local banking, implement postal banking, replace corporate trade agreements with global fair trade agreements, prohibit finance capital from buying up single-family homes and rental housing stock. This is especially a major problem in majority black, old Rust Belt cities, like all of these banks and shit, finance capital, investment banks, what have you, come in and they buy up a shitload of derelict homes and rental housing, and they wait for the city to become gentrified so that they can fuck everybody over. Jill Stein is not terrible. She gets in physical altercations with cops. She was actually arrested when she came to St. Louis a few months ago to protest on behalf of the Palestinian people. That big fracas at Warshu, yeah, she was there. A couple of my friends actually spent time in the paddy wagon with her. Happy the United States needs its ass out of other countries day. Happy chickens coming home to roost day. Yes, today is the day that 9/11 dropped. And my take on 9/11 is, yes, the U.S. had what was coming. Did the Dominican janitor, did the Puerto Rican cook at Windows of the World, did the fucking Trinidadian mail lady, did they have it coming? No. But that's what happens when you live in an imperialist country. The blowback tends to impact those who had the least to do with what happened. So that's why we need to stop American imperialism. But yeah, I highly recommend you guys check out her platform because it's some dope shit. And again, no, I'm not under the delusion that Jill Stein is going to be the next president of the United States, but it's better than nothing. So one or the other of these people is going to be president of the United States. Okay. Was I impressed by either one of these people? No. If you are impressed by either Kamala Harris or Donald Trump, I highly recommend that you go and get some type of mental health treatment. There's something wrong with you. Okay. Especially if you're in an organization that calls itself left and you are entertaining voting for either one of these ghouls. Like, what is wrong with you? You need mental health treatment. You need to go see a psychiatrist. You do not need to be taken seriously when you discuss politics. You're in a fucking cult. Okay. That's what you're in. That's what's happening to you. So let's see how much of this I can stomach again.
Kamala Harris. Let's have a good debate.
Nice to see you. Have fun.
Thank you.
Nice to see you have fun.
Welcome to you both. It's wonderful to have you. It's an honor to have you both here tonight.
Good evening. We are looking forward to a spirited and thoughtful debate.
So let's get started. I want to begin tonight with the issue that voters repeatedly say is their number one issue, and that is the economy and the cost of living in this country. Vice President Harris, you and President Trump were elected 4 years ago, and your opponent on the stage.
People keep asking me about Claudia. Okay, Claudia is the Party for Socialism and Liberation candidate. I'm not voting for her. I don't even think she's on the ballot in my state. But I don't like PSL. Why don't I like PSL? Because PSL has a history of doing some pretty shiesty shit. So, no. Rest in peace, Roko Kamaj, window cleaner of the World Trade Center.
Age here tonight often asks his supporters, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? When it comes to the economy, do you believe Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago?
So I was raised as a middle-class kid, and I am actually the only person on this stage who has a.
Why don't they ever talk about the working class? Why does everybody? This is a side of how bourgeoisified America is. Everybody talks about the middle class. Everybody talks about the middle class. Like you go to Europe, you go to the UK, everybody talks about the working class. Like they don't identify as middle class. Middle class is something that you don't want to be. Middle class means that you have stodgy Victorian values and you go on holiday for 2 weeks every year. Working class is what you want to try to appeal to. But in the United States, being working class is seen as being a failure in life. Being working class is seen as being a failure in life. You work at McDonald's, you work at Walmart, you work in a warehouse. You're seen as being a failure. You're seen as somebody that didn't go to college. You're seen as somebody that didn't get any education. So now you're stuck in what they call a dead-end job for the rest of your life. That's how it is. That's how bourgeois America is. Bourgeois means ruling class. You don't want to be working class. Like W.E.B. Du Bois talks about all the way back during the antebellum period, during the slavery period. White people did not work in the South. They didn't want to work in the South. If you worked in the South, that meant that you were close to us. That meant that you were close to Black people. And that was something that you did not want to be. So you still see this lingering tendency to alienate yourself from the working class as far as possible. One of the reasons why I think Bernie Sanders was so popular was that he was not afraid to utter the words working class, even though he used the words middle class too. But I digress.
Has a plan that is about lifting up the middle class and working people of America. I believe in the ambition, the aspirations, the dreams of the American people. And that is why I imagine and have actually a plan to build what I call an opportunity economy. Because here's the thing. We know that we have a shortage of homes and housing, and the cost of housing is too expensive for far too many people. We know that young families need support to raise their children, and I intend on extending a tax cut for those families of $6,000, which is the largest child tax credit that we have given in a long time, so that those young families can afford to buy a crib, buy a car seat, buy clothes for their children. My passion, one of them, is small businesses. My mother raised my sister and me, but there was a woman who helped raise us. We call her our second mother. She was a small business owner. I love.
You had a nanny. You had a nanny. Working class people do not have nannies. They can't afford nannies.
Of our small businesses. My plan is to give a $50,000 tax deduction to startup small businesses, knowing they are part of the backbone of America's economy. My opponent, on the other hand, his plan is to do what he has done before, which is to provide a tax cut for billionaires and big corporations, which will result in $5 trillion.
You will do the exact same thing. You literally have people from BlackRock helping to write your economics fucking line. You are literally the exact same policy-wise as Donald Trump. The exact same. The only difference between Kamala and Trump is that Kamala can actually finish a sentence. Kamala talks like a lawyer. Trump talks like a reality show host, which he is. Aren't there 8 times more vacant homes than homeless people? Yes. America, if it wanted to, if it was so inclined to spend some of the trillions of dollars that it wastes on military shit, America could house every unhoused person in the United States. But housing unhoused people is not to the benefit of American imperialism, so it's not going to do that unless we force it to. How do we force it to? By making a revolution and establishing socialism.
Dollars to America's deficit. My opponent has a plan that I call the Trump's sales tax, which would be a 20% tax on everyday goods that you rely on to get through the month. Economists have said that Trump sales tax would actually result for middle-class families in about $4,000 more a year because of his policies and his ideas about what should be the backs of middle-class people paying for tax cuts for billionaires.
President Trump, I'll give you 2 minutes.
First of all, I have no sales tax. That's an incorrect statement. She knows that. We're doing tariffs on other countries. Other countries are going to finally, after 75 years, pay us back for all that we've done for the world. And
what has America done for the world besides like killing their citizens? So he's going right in with the xenophobia. I mean, that's his bread and butter. Like, this guy literally got his entree into politics. He established himself on the road that would lead to him becoming the president of the United States by saying that Barack Obama was not born in this country. That's how he got his start. Okay. So, of course, his bread and butter is xenophobia. Other countries are taking advantage of us, blah, 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 blah. So, of course, he's going to start with this shit.
The tariff will be substantial in some cases. I took in billions and billions of dollars, as you know, from China. In fact, they never took the tariff off because there was so much money they can't. It would totally destroy everything that they've set out to do. They're taking in billions of dollars from China and other places. They've left the
This guy's like a broken record. You've already said that.
tariffs on. When I had it, I had tariffs. And
I swear to God, I hope that we don't listen to we don't end up listening to 4 more years of this bastard just droning on and on and on and on and on. I mean, he talks like a German, which he is, but that is not very presidential.
yet I had no inflation. Look, we've had a terrible economy because inflation which is really known as a country buster. It breaks up countries. We have inflation like very few people have ever seen before, probably the worst in our.
Because I don't like PSL. That's why. Stop asking me why I'm not going to vote for Claudia de la Cruz. If you want to go vote for Claudia, go ahead. My vote is my business. Well, I guess it's you all, too, because I literally made the title of the stream. I voted for Jill Stein, but regardless.
Nation's history, we were at 21%, but that's being generous because many things are 50, 60, 70, and 80% higher than they were just a few years ago. This has been a disaster for people, for the middle class, but for every class. On top of that, we have millions.
So this is fascism, like cross-class collaborationism. Like, America does not have class struggle language, okay? America does not do class warfare language. America does class collaboration, solidarity across classes. That means that America is an inherently fascist country. Like, if you read Mussolini's speeches, that's what he talks about. He wants labor, capital, all of these various classes, peasantry, all working together on behalf of the state. Hitler was the same way. Any fascist talks about class solidarity for the benefit of the state, for the benefit of the Volk. So whenever you hear somebody talking about solidarity across classes, sometimes even so-called leftists do this. The party of sexual liaisons. But yeah, that's fascism. He's lost the juice. The rambling isn't even really funny anymore. He almost hits his old level a couple times during this debate. But 4 more years of him talking like this will just be more visible. Miserable. He will. American politicians speak like Mussolini. That is also true. But yeah, anytime you hear somebody talking about doing what's best for all classes in society, that is pseudo-fascist rhetoric.
Millions of people pouring into our country from prisons and jails, from mental institutions and insane asylums.
You know, during the Mario boat lift, that's why there's like, you got your old Cubans and you got your new Cubans. Your old Cubans came right after Batista was overthrown in the glorious Cuban Revolution. So those are your old Cubans. And then you got the Marielitos, the people that came after in 1980. Like, if you watch Scarface, Tony Montana is a Marielito. So Trump has literally taken this old rhetoric from the 80s and upgrading it for today. Like, back then, Reagan would talk about how Fidel Castro had pulled a fast one on the United States by letting all of the everybody out of his hospitals, jails, mental asylums. It's also pseudo-eugenicist talk. Like, these people are dysgenic. They have no business being in our country, blah, 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 blah. He's decreasing the stock of our country. Now, they have no problem with the old Cubans. They have no problem with them because they're rich and they're white. But these new black and brown people, no, they can't be over here. They're dysgenic. They're degenerates. We have enough colors of our own. Why would we add more?
And they're coming in and they're taking jobs that are occupied right now by African Americans and Hispanics, and also unions. Unions are going to be affected very soon. And you see what's happening. You see.
So SOB, the guy from the Teamsters, Sean O'Brien, he's leaning heavily into this. Of course, the Teamsters have always been fucking crooked, but he's leaning heavily into this. Like, he spoke at the Republican convention for a reason. And thankfully, there's a rank and file effort to get rid of him and punish him for that class treason of his. But again, more fascist rhetoric. Like, these people are not going to be coming to take union jobs. They're not taking jobs from black people. They're not taking jobs from Hispanics. He only threw Hispanics in to try to act as if he's not racist. But all of this is disproven. And it gets much, much worse. Just watch.
You see what's happening with towns throughout the United States. You look at Springfield, Ohio. You look at Aurora in Colorado.
Both of these have been disproven. There was no Venezuelan gang that took over an apartment complex in Aurora.
They are taking over the towns. They're taking over buildings. They're going in violently. These are the people that Xi and Biden led into our country, and they're destroying our country. They're dangerous.
Kamala Harris has actually been positioning herself on the border to the right of Trump. She's positioned herself to the right of Trump on a lot of things. Foreign policy and the border being the major two.
They're at the highest level of criminality, and we have to get them out. We have to get them out fast. I created one of the greatest economies in the history of our country. I'll do it again and even better.
We are going to get to immigration and border security during this debate, but I would like to let Vice President Harris respond on the economy here.
Well, I would love to. Let's talk about what Donald Trump left us. Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment since the Great Depression. Donald Trump left us the worst public health epidemic in a century. Donald Trump left us the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War. And what we have done is clean up Donald Trump's mess. What we have done and what I intend to do is build on what we know are the aspirations and the hopes of the American people. But I'm going to tell you all in this debate tonight, you're going to hear from the same old tired playbook, a bunch of lies, grievances, and name calling. What you're going to hear tonight is a detailed and dangerous plan called Project 2025.
She's going to be harping on this. Trump has actually repudiated it, but if he gets elected, yes, certain elements of it are going to probably end up being implemented. The black jobs talking point seems to contradict their complaints about DEI. Anytime a black person is at a high skill, high paid job, they complain about DEI. I mean, he literally got his start in politics by calling Barack Obama a DEI hire. I mean, it just shows how, like, nothing these people say makes any sense. Nothing that Trump is saying makes any sense. None of these people that Kamala is saying makes any sense. They don't care about you. They don't care about being logical, consistent. They throw red, raw meat to an audience. This is a show. Okay, this is bread and circuses. You cannot take these people seriously. You cannot act as if these people are logical or if what they're saying is going to make any sense, because they don't care. They know that Americans have the political sensibilities and attention span of an ant. They know that Americans are not going to remember what they said 1 week ago. They don't care. So it's just a show. It's just a song and dance for the next couple months until election day comes, and then one to the other is going to get to plop their ass in the White House for the next 4 years. That's all. Like, that's literally all it is.
The former president intends on implementing if he were elected again. I believe very strongly that the American people want a president who understands the importance of bringing us together, knowing we have so much more in common than what separates us. And I pledge to you to be a president for all Americans.
President Trump, will give you a minute here to respond.
Number one, I have nothing to do, as you know, and as she knows better than anyone, I have nothing to do with Project 2025. That's out there. I haven't read it. I don't want to read it purposely. I'm not going to read it.
You've read it. Why are you lying? You've read it.
This was a group of people that got together. They came up with some ideas, I guess some good, some bad. but it makes no difference. I have nothing to do.
How do you know what's good and bad if you haven't read it? Because you've read the fucking thing. Why are you lying?
Everybody knows I'm an open book. Everybody knows what I'm going to do. Cut taxes very substantially and create a great economy like I did before. We had the greatest economy. We got hit with a pandemic. And the pandemic was not since 1917, where 100 million people died, has there been anything like it. We did a phenomenal job with the pandemic. We handed them over a country where the economy and where the stock market was higher than it was before the pandemic came in. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. We made ventilators for the entire world. We got gowns, we got masks, we did things that nobody thought possible. And people give me credit for rebuilding the military. They give me credit for a lot of things, but not enough credit for the great job we.
It's amazing how
did with the
self-centered this guy
pandemic.
is. Like,
But the only jobs they got were back.
all he talks about is himself. Like, he talks about none of the other people that were in office with him, probably because half of them have repudiated him. Ugh. But yeah, again, don't take any of these people seriously.
Bounce back jobs. These were jobs bounced back, and it bounced back and it went to their benefit. But I was the one that created them. They know it, and so does everybody else.
Vice President Harris, I'll let you respond.
So Donald Trump has no plan for you. And when you look at his economic plan, it's all about tax breaks for the richest people. I am offering what I describe as an opportunity economy, and the best economists in our country, if not the world, have reviewed our relative plans for the future of America. What Goldman Sachs has said is that Donald Trump's plan would make the economy worse. Mine would strengthen the economy.
Why are you listening to what Goldman Sachs says? Why are you listening to what? Oh my God! See, this is why I was going back and forth between this farce and Vikings yesterday, because these are not serious fucking people. They're serious, the unserious people trying to do a serious job. You literally had this shit that was being promoted yesterday. Like, nobody believes. The cops don't believe. The people that live there. Nobody believes that Haitians are in Ohio eating people's residence or taking wildlife from parks. This shit literally started on your boomer grandma's Facebook wall. And now people are saying, like, you've got JD Vance saying this, you've got Ted Cruz saying this, you've got the Republican House Judiciary Twitter page saying that Haitians are eating ducks and geese and people's pets in Ohio. The police literally said that this is not happening. There have been no credible reports of Haitian immigrants stealing pets to eat them. So we're going back to Gilded Age era racism. We're going back to Gilded Age era racism. Like, people used to believe that the Chinese and the Japanese were over here stealing people's pets to eat them. That's not happening. There's no evidence of that happening. But because the American public is so credulous and so racist, now this is a thing. It's a thing that has been carried onto the stage of the American presidential debate. It is a thing. Honestly, what's going to happen is Haitian community groups are going to get together and they're going to sue the shit out of these people, as they should. So what was happening outside? The good shit always happens outside. Fuck what's going on inside, okay? Just like at the DNC, all the good shit happens outside. So there was a protest outside because both groups, both individuals suck on Palestine. If you watch the debate, you would see that both groups, both individuals suck on Palestine. They were literally trying to outright each other on, like, who could kiss Israel's ass the hardest. Thoughts on the California wildfires? I don't know. Maybe you all should stop setting your state on fire every year. Actually, that was ignorant. It doesn't always have to be some fucking hippie out there playing with matches, but it just shows how climate change is going to continue to fuck us all. Like Kamala last night said that she's going to be the biggest fracker in American presidential history. That shit causes earthquakes. That shit destroys indigenous land. Like, how are you going to start the Democratic National Convention with a land acknowledgement and then go on to support one of the major man-made environmental catastrophes in human history? Like, fracking is some dirty shit. It pollutes the water. It pollutes the land. It's gross. Okay, simply put. So indigenous people are always going to be the stewards of the land, and all of my indigenous comrades, they are not happy at what they saw last night. They're not amused, so to speak. Neither are these comrades.
130 feet south on this street, south on 4th. The police are kind of bumping into each other over here. They're like bumping in with their bikes or whatever. Yeah, their bike locks are screwed up or whatever, bike chains. All right. So some people are leaving. Some people are still holding space. Some people are kind of sticking.
There was a massive kettle at the end of this protest. Yeah. Learn how to break kettle.
Together on the street in front of us. The police have had some bike problems with their bike chains. All right. Okay. So
10? Probably 10. There's a lot of you. They clearly cannot afford all of this. Can they? Can they?
So, all right. So here we're at 4th and Market. Thank you all for tuning into Unicorn Riot. We're live right now. And thank you, Nico, for working on the back end. Thank you, Chris, for the camera work. So right here, we're faced with a classic example of what's called the mobile field force. And again, I think that's one of the reasons we try to cover these things so people understand how these protests get policed in the United States. So the equipment that they're wearing, the knee pads, the batons, the tasers, the facial helmets, the other padding, etc. All of these things are actually designated. If you want to check out our website, look up Unicorn Riot Field Force Operations. You can see a manual. Basically, the federal government has a standardized training and equipment protocol that is run through the FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Agency Office of Domestic Preparedness, is how this is designed and how this doctrine is standardized for platoons of police across the United States. And so when there's a large amount of protest or something's going on, they can mobilize police from multiple jurisdictions that all have the same
Yeah, I highly recommend you guys check out what he was talking about. I posted the manual. Unicorn Riot actually has quite a few really, really good sources like that literally come from the custom shelves that show how they move. So this stuff is really, really important to check out because if Trump wins, if Kamala wins, the streets are going to call again. And my mic is not muted. It's you that cannot hear. But yeah, you all should pay attention to this type of thing because regardless of who wins, shit is going to get bad and the streets are going to call again. So you need to be ready. questions. Thoughts on Maoist Communist Union? It seems similar to my politics. Just because somebody is similar to my politics, that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to join them. Like, I have a friend that was in the MCU, and yeah, they didn't have the best time there. See, the thing with a lot of these small Maoist groups is that, yes, they are correct politically, or they try to be as politically correct as they can be. But also, they tend to get a sort of funky cult dynamic going on. And there's a lot of psychological abuse of their members, and a lot of trying to take over organizations, other organizations, and wreck them. And that's really not what I'm down with. I'm 30 years old. I don't have time for that shit. Yes, I'm only 30. I know some of you all think I'm like 45 or something. It's called trauma, honey. What about PSL? I'm not voting for PSL. Don't ask me why. Do your own research. Opinion on the provisional IRA. Well, considering that they have been the cause of some of the best fucking music to ever exist in human history, yeah, I'm a pretty decent Provo. Yeah, you can call me the Black Provo, I guess. But yeah, check this out. It's really important. I posted a link in the chat. Yeah, I hate this fucking Uncle Tom, David Clark Jr. But yeah, so a lot of protests last night because these people need to be held accountable. They can't just be allowed to show up in random cities and spew their filth and then leave, because no, Palestine is the most important issue right now, not the American fucking economy, not none of this shit. Palestine. What is your position on Palestine? Are you going to stop the arms? Are you going to stop the continued sale of arms to Palestine that helps kill hundreds of thousands of women and children and old men? Of course not. Of course not. Israel is too important to the continued existence and ability of American imperialism to project strength in the Middle East. So neither candidate is going to stop any of this shit. Neither candidate cares. Kamala is not going to put out an arms embargo. Everybody that's trying to get her to do so is wasting their fucking time and energy. And see, what liberals do is they think that they're so much smarter than everybody else. They act that all we have to do is follow them. And then when they lose, incredibly, then they have nervous breakdowns and they snap at everybody. Like, you all brought this on yourselves. You all brought this on yourselves by not listening. You all brought this on yourselves by thinking that you're the smartest fuckers in the room. And now here we are in the exact same position we were 20 years ago. So both candidates talked about labor. Let's see what a Jill Stein administration would do. $25 minimum wage, guaranteed livable income above poverty, housing as a human right, universal rent control, federal support for worker-owned cooperatives, expand and defend workers' right to unionize to include domestic, agricultural, and so-called gig workers, increase worker representation on corporate boards at 50%, give voting rights and pension funds to workers, repeal the Taft-Hartley Act and end the right to work for less laws, federalize workers' compensation to standardize and ensure full funding for workers' comp, domestic workers' bill of rights, end wage discrimination based on race, gender, and other factors. Do you all know that there's still like discrimination in wage and pay based on gender? Like, women still make a fraction of what dudes make. In the Landrum-Griffin Act, restrictions that bar unions from hiring some formerly incarcerated people. Ban at-will employment by requiring just clause to terminate employment. So if you're a worker, you need to really, really dig Jill Stein. You need to study her platform. And you need to vote for her. Because this is dope shit. Like, this is stuff that if DSA ever becomes an independent party, this is shit that DSA will need to support. So if you're a DSA and you're still tripping off Kamala Harris, you're still thinking about voting for this lady, well, like, what is wrong with you? Like, our platform is right here. Our platform is right here. Okay. The only reason why I would see a leftist would not support Jill Stein is because of sectarian reasons. Oh, we're running our own candidate, or she can't, like, bullshit like that. No, a better world is possible. Isn't that what we keep saying? Keep saying? So why don't you help create the better world? Why don't you help open the gate for something better? Because this fucking misery, our Palestinian comrades can't afford. We can't afford. The world cannot afford. Quit wallowing in misery, acting as if it's the only way, because it's not. If you believe that a better world is indeed possible, then you need to help create it. You need to help open the damn gate so that in 15, 20 years, a platform like this is actually viable at the national level. So yeah, fuck it. I'm voting for Jill Stein. Peace.